Hey everybody, it's Glenn back with another Clash Royale analysis video. Over the next couple videos, the next couple weeks, we're going to be taking a look at the qualifying games, the qualifying matches to get into the latter stages of the NoTilt World Championship. It's been pretty wild so far with some of these really crazy matches, including the one that we're going to break down today between the God RF and Boss. The God RF just helped Space Station Gaming win the CRL West title. We have Boss, who will be competing in CRL East very soon. This was a pretty wild game to kick off the grand finals of the first qualifier. The winner of this one advances to the next round. Ends up being a Gob Giant Sparky versus the 2.9 double barrel bait, which has been growing in popularity. Now I should mention, we are now in Season 14. This was back when Season 13 was still the Season 13 meta. So there have been a couple changes to the 2.9 double barrel bait. And speaking of that, let's look at that first sequence, because this is pretty amazing here by the God RF. He's already coming in with that offense. So if we look at it here, he has to answer to this Musketeer. So he brings in this Knight here, and that's really good positioning. One of the most underrated parts about the 2.9 double barrel bait is that if you let Dark Goblin run free, it can just start picking off opponents left and right. And the way to do that most commonly with this deck is to have Knight go in front of it, because Knight is the tank in this lineup. 3 elixir, but he is a heavy dude. And it works really well for Dark Goblin right here. Now you can also do it with delivery, but it will just be kind of a less weight here. So having Knight in front of Dark Goblin is really good. Now you have 2 defenders. I mean, you have 2 attackers on this Musketeer. The Musketeer has to answer to the Knight first. You got the perfect spacing. And then now the God RF can come in with an offense, and Boss comes in with Sparky on the back. But while that's happening here, you have this Dark Goblin unattended and going at the tower. Why not the Dark Prince? My guess was, I think Boss was expecting the barrel to come to the right side right here. So if we rewind this just a few seconds, I think Boss was expecting the barrel to come right to the bottom right corner of the tower here, right where I have this arrow. And the reason is because if the God RF splits the tower, I mean, if the God RF thinks that Boss may have a tornado, he's going to play it here first to kind of make Boss use the tornado. But the God RF had already pretty much guessed that, okay, Boss doesn't have tornado, so let me just split the barrel right in the middle here and get them all on the corners, and this Dark Prince can't get to all 3 of them at the same time. Now, because this Dark Prince is behind, and not behind the tower, but is kind of running side with this tower right here instead of in front, this Dark Goblin's first target is not the Dark Prince. It's the tower, and now you see how much damage Dark Goblin does right here. So that's really good by the God RF. Early lead, has in front of the tower, doesn't get hit by Dark Prince, and now it's just a matter of, okay, what are you going to do with the Sparky? And you have Dark Goblin take care of that. So here comes the push. This was pretty crazy. Mini goes back. I've never seen Mini go back for anything. But if you look right here, that this skeleton right here was just high enough, and because of these minions right here, who stopped it before getting to the tower. The thing about it is that if those minions hadn't stopped getting to the tower, then Mini just keeps coming down. Instead, she goes back, smacks that skeleton, and then now that gave the God RF an opportunity to bring in delivery with Elixir. That was the the key part about that one skeleton right there is that allowed the God RF to bring in, to save his elixir instead of using it for delivery earlier, and then he would have nothing. Now, it would be up to him whether he wants to save or he wants to go, but he now has that option. If it was earlier, he would not have that option. He would just have to wait, and then you see now how Boss has a bunch of elixir to work with from this point. That, I thought, was a game changer. It allowed the God RF to decide what to do next. So he decides to do nothing and just kind of wait it out. And Boss comes in with Sparky. And since it's Gob Giant Sparky, I was thinking, okay, perhaps he's going to bring in Gob Giant right here. He doesn't. He brings in Musketeer from the back. So perhaps Boss is saying, okay, let's just see what we can get out of Sparky now in regulation time. When we get to double elixir, when the stakes, when the elixir starts flowing a little bit more, there's opportunities to keep pushing and pushing and pushing with Sparky and Gob Giant at the same time. Right now, it's Sparky. If Sparky can get it done, then Gob Giant won't be needed, or he can just play defense. So Sparky versus the Inferno Tower, and all you need is one stop when it comes to stopping Sparky, and he gets that with the skeletons. Very cheap stop right there. Boss answers that Goblin Barrel with Zap. This is a good Knight answer by this to stop this Musketeer without having it to go to the Musketeer. Just far enough, right here, just far enough so that the Musketeer has to answer to this Knight first, and while the Knight goes and takes care of this Dark Prince right here. Now the other question comes in is, okay, why did Boss play Dark Prince on the right side? I think it's to keep the God RF honest. He's saying, okay, you can't just keep pushing on the right side and trying to push on the right side and trying to push on the right side. We're going to have to play both lanes here. So this is just kind of the test to see if the God RF is paying attention at this point. He clearly is, because he gets that Knight over there just far enough and just low enough to where the Princess Tower comes in and helps, and nothing doing. And here we go, 60 seconds to go, double elixir time. So imagine got to see Gob Giant at some point. Boss brings in Sparky and that barrel, and Boss lets that barrel go on the left side. That was pretty wild. I did not expect that, because this is actually the play to do right here. This is something I've learned over the past couple weeks, and I've been using this 2.9 double barrel bait, which has been a lot of fun. I would recommend it to anybody who's looking for a new lineup to use. I would say go for this lineup right here, 2.9 double barrel bait. But why play on that side? Now, obviously, you have minions on the right. They would be stopped right here, but you have Dark Goblin too. So it does make sense to play it on the left, but this is just so if your opponent is not paying attention or just lets it go, you can see how much damage actually happened to the tower right here when Boss let it go. Now, he did bring in Musketeer right over here. So by putting this Musketeer right here just to the right side, this Musketeer is still going to be part of this push. And then to help this Sparky right here. So now what's going to happen with the barrel? That gets answered pretty fast. And you see this push right here that Boss has coming. Now you see how much tower he lost here. He hasn't done anything yet on the God RF's towers, which is pretty amazing. He hasn't done really anything. And right now it feels like, okay, the God RF is just going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing, because he can cycle faster through his lineup with his win conditions instead of Boss, who has to bring Sparky from the back and then hope for the push and hope for the push, and then perhaps one of them is going to work.
choosing maybe to eat some damage.
So good fireball right here.
But RF significantly ahead now. With solid damage on the right.
And I would have thought that the God RF would have played this Dark Goblin here on the right side, but instead he plays Dart on the left. That was really interesting because had Sparky just had enough juice to get through, it would have taken out both of them. And that probably would have been the game right here. So that was really curious, but he had a lot of faith that Dart was going to get the job done.
But RF significantly ahead now.
Sparky takes out that
with solid damage in the right-hand lane and not
that Knight.
on the left.
And now we have the counter push by the God RF, but here comes Mini, smacks that Dark Goblin. You see again, that was Mini went back. You see just very slightly. Mini went back right there, and then went back and was gonna go take care of those skeletons, but we have a zap right there, and now we have to figure out, okay, what's gonna happen with this Gob Giant right here. Is the Sparky going to be coming to the left? I mean, right behind it. This is something that has to be answered. And that was, here comes this Inferno Tower. And this, I think, was the game right here. This Inferno Tower placement. Boss saw this and knew that this was going to be trouble for the God RF. And let me explain why. You see here, this Inferno Tower is ideal placement. It's out of the range of, let's say, a Musketeer, or if there was a Magic Archer. Well, Magic Archer would smoke it. It'd be out of the way of a Dart. It's just really ideal placement. But you can only do that for one Inferno Tower. If you want to place another one, it's going to get in the way of becoming a really true defender. It's not going to get the most value possible, which we see right here. So we see Mini get taken down, and that allowed these minions to come in ahead of the Goblin Giant. And you see, this is why Boss played this Musketeer right here, because the God RF could not play this Inferno Tower up. If he played the Inferno Tower up, this Musketeer smacks it. If he plays the Inferno Tower back further here, this Gob Giant and these minions get to the tower for free. He has to play it here, or he has to play it here, so that this is their stop before they get to the tower. And it just so happens these minions come first. And now this just becomes a push for free, really. Because now it's up to, okay, perhaps this Inferno Tower just has to do its job while this barrel finishes this tower over here. And while it looks like it's 2,534 HP on this tower to 728, this is really whoever gets this done first is going to win the game. That's what it comes down to. It doesn't look like a tie, but it looks like it's essentially a tie right here with this rage, and you just see that everybody's coming in, and there is nothing that the God RF can do because he has no elixir to deal with it, and he has to throw the fireball because, by a miracle, because Boss sold out with his push, and he had to do it because he has to get this tower down as fast as possible because it's at almost at full health. These goblins do their job, but in the end, he has to save the elixir so he can throw the fireball and at least get the tie. But you have a Mini, you have a Dark Prince, and you have a Musketeer, and they're just going to continue their push. And there's really nothing that the God RF can do. And Boss smells it out and just keeps on shooting, and that's the game. This was really incredible because it looked like the God RF had the game just firmly in control. He was just taking damage, taking down damage, taking damage from the tower, continuing to get HP from the tower. and then Boss gets one push,
Boss running Goblin Giant Sparky. He loves to.
and that was game. And it was all because of this tower placement right here. Because this tower, not only because of this tower placement, but this tower placement right here was how this game changed. Because it allowed Boss to bring in the minions over here. He couldn't place it over here with this Musketeer that was just going to be able to take it away. It was pretty wild. So it just was amazing how fast this game turned in favor of Boss. The way the God RF was just controlling the game, and all of a sudden, boom, Boss got his push, and that was the game. So let's take a look at the stats from this game here. What I was really curious about was how does the matchup history look like? And it's 51-49. So this was really, it really favors, I mean, I would say it's pretty even. I would say it really doesn't favor anybody. It is fairly even. And we look at, four barrels each for the God RF with, I mean, it was very even placement. I thought it was very even placement, and I thought it was well executed. It's just that if you look on the other side, 3 Sparkies, 2 Goblin Giants, and I believe both Goblin Giants came in extra time, and it was just really, Boss got his push that he needed to get the tower down, and it was pretty incredible. So congrats to the Boss on this win. We're going to be breaking down another game from this Grand Final Series. And we're going to be breaking down more games from the NoTilt League World Championship, which is ongoing over the next couple weeks. It's been a lot of fun watching all the players try to get to the next stage and stay in the running to become the next world champion. So we'll be breaking down more of these games. I'm going to end the video right here. Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit the like button wherever you're watching this. Be sure to hit the subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.